I'm going to say welcome to a very special show for me because the woman that I have here on set with Angie Everhart is one of my dear friends for a very long time. And
You're going to make me cry.
And it's a woman who's beautiful inside, beautiful outside, tough on the inside, tough as nails on the outside. You are an inspiration to so many women. You're such a good friend. This woman, her name is Liskula. How'd you get that name, by the way?
You're going to have to ask my mother.
Did she not? It's a different name.
Yes, it's different.
Something I've never heard.
There's only a few of us on the planet, and yeah, she liked it.
Is there an origin to it?
It's old Swedish, so it's not a common Swedish name. There are many different ways to spell it. There's another girl with our agency in New York.
That's why people always think that you're a Swedish girl instead of a good old. You dress her in blue, and she's dressed her in red and blue. She's red.
You haven't seen the other Liskula at Iconic?
No.
You should look. She could be my mother.
Oh, wow.
It's so crazy. Yeah, she's beautiful, too. Wonderful woman.
She has to be with that name.
Special.
Well, Lisk, you've been, around the world a bunch of times with me, without me. And, this show, the reason I'm doing it is for inspiration. I want to talk about inspiration for women. And, I mean, you're like the epitome of woman.
Wow.
I mean, you are, but you could there's certain women that I'm around that make me feel masculine. There's only been about 2, and you are one of them because you're so sexy. So you guys got to see this woman dance. She can dance. So, we've been friends for a very long time. She's just a very sexy, sensual, beautiful, and pay it forward mother now.
Yes.
You're to just an adorable daughter.
Oh yeah, she's a special little bean.
Mm-hmm. And I'm just really happy you're here. Thank you so much for.
I'm so happy to be here, and I'm so proud of you for doing this. This is fantastic.
Yeah, I was just, I wanted to pay it forward after all the, I felt like the Me Too movement was starting to get negative rather than positive, and because it was such a positive thing, I think, to begin with. I mean, not him, but the idea of women finally standing together, and that was the reason. Somebody had asked me why I'd come forward, but that was the reason I had done it, was so that I could, be a face forward for everybody. Now you have had some experiences that have, also not been the greatest.
I have.
And I mean, I don't know if you're okay with me talking about you.
Of course.
Okay. Well, Liskula was hurt. Why don't you tell us about how you were hurt? You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah. Well, publicly it was known as a random act of violence, but basically I was attacked by a 6'3" steroid-induced Serbian man with wielding a bottle of vodka, and he put a hole in my face the size of a quarter.
Ugh.
I mean, if you saw the pictures, you would vomit. You could see my teeth from the outside. So that happened. And
wait a second.
I was at a nightclub. He was taking drinks from my table. I was with 2 friends of mine, and they were too wimpy to say anything, and they wanted me to say something. So I said, at least you could do is say please. And he lost the plot.
Wow.
So, and that was
off of that?
That was 3 drinks in. Yeah.
That was all you said to him?
Yeah.
At least you could do is say please.
Mm-hmm.
And he threw it at you, the bottle at you?
Oh, he went ballistic. And there were security guards within 3 feet of me when that happened. And it was so fast, and everything just happened so fast. There was no time for them to control the situation. So.
Well, it's amazing because you can't see that you have
makeup.
I don't see a scar.
Really?
I mean, I don't.
Thank you.
I don't. I mean, you're very, very, very lucky.
Yeah. Well, I cover it with makeup.
Mm-hmm.
I make sure it's also been a decade. The body heals incredibly.
Mm-hmm. But he only got a very short
30 days in jail. So, and then he got out of jail and did a very similar thing to another woman, but she did not want to press charges. She was afraid. So he had broken his probation, and then he ended up back in the slammer.
Just for breaking probation, not for...
Yeah.
And see, that's the thing about now is I think if that happened now, I think he'd probably get a heavier sentence, which is kind of sad, but...
It depends on what state you're in. New York is actually pretty lenient.
On abuse to women?
Yep. Well, just abuse in general. First-time criminals, slap on the wrist. Not to say that 30 days in Rikers Island is a slap on the wrist, because let me tell you something, I'm sure it did not bode well for him.
Right.
But,
Well, 30 days, you were still in and out of doctors and surgeries.
I didn't have any surgery.
You didn't?
Nope. I only got stitched up.
Wow.
So, yeah, I think it was 43 stitches.
But how did you come out of that? I mean, what was the psychological?
The psychological was terrible. I suffered terribly from PTSD. And not that I'm afraid of big white Serbian guys, because I'm not, but you know me. I don't really put up with any shit from anybody.
Yeah,
and especially when it comes to men. My mother raised me to stand up for myself. My father taught me how to punch people if they're stepping on the lines, and I'm just no holds barred. I've punched photographers. I've, crossed the line with me. You cross over that physical barrier and all of my defenses go up, and I will do what I have to do to make myself feel safe. Being a young model, leaving home, moving to Paris, I had to protect myself numerous times,
Yeah, but I never punched anybody.
Oh, I did. When I had photographers fondling my breasts, I was
but I never allowed that to happen.
I never allowed it either.
I allowed it. I know you didn't allow it, but I just never even let people come near me like that. Like I got lucky, I think.
When they're just trying to fix your shirt, and your shirt just happens to always be on your nipple, and you're just like, you're the photographer. Give me a stylist. She can touch my boobs all day.
You shouldn't have such great boobs, Liskula.
Well,
I mean, come on. That's the reason they're touching you, right?
My mom, she's been very good to me genetically.
I'm teasing.
And in every way, obviously.
I'm teasing. I just find it hard that I don't understand what that is in a man. I think it's a special gene that men like that have, that think that they can just come up and touch women like that.
Yeah. For a long time,
I've had a lot of it happen. I shouldn't say I haven't. I have.
For a long time, men were allowed to act like that. Now, because of the Me Too movement, we're teaching them.
Just had it happen to me the other night, actually. Even at this age, I've had men do that to me.
Grab your booty, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I grabbed your booty, too. She's got a great booty.
You didn't grab my booty. Not last night.
Don't threaten me with a good time.
You're funny.
Yeah. So, it's just time. It's time that all women now start to know how to protect yourself. I've got a 7.5-year-old daughter, and a lot of my friends in the South think I'm crazy because I teach her how to defend herself. I teach her what to do if she's in the trunk of a car. I teach her all of those things.
What you do, throw her in the trunk of the car?
No, I tell her what to do. I tell her where the things are, or if it's an old car.
I've even told my son to push out the.
That's only with old cars. They don't do that.
It doesn't work anymore.
No, but now there's a latch in every trunk. You got to tell them to find the latch.
So my brother is a sheriff in Colorado, so he's seen a lot, and in the schools where he's actually sheriff, where the shootings have happened, and he and I have gone through with my son what to do if there is an emergency or an intruder in the home, and those kind of things, which, I wouldn't have thought to do it, but I wanted my son to be, aware of firearms. So my brother brought him a firearm, and he got to see what it was, and he took a lesson from a professional, and so he knows what it is. He knows how to stay away from it. He knows how to shoot it. It's like a BB gun, but has the same weight of a real gun. So it wasn't
it's a real BB gun.
It's a real BB gun. Yes. Yeah. And it's intimidating because of the weight and the what you call it, the force of it when it comes out. And there's a word for that.
The
recoil. Thank you. Yes, the recoil. And but I believe that, and I know that you're that girl that teaches your daughter to do that. And I respect women like that. And
I'm Canadian, so I'm not really familiar with guns, and I might have some issues with some of the gun things in this country, but we're not here to talk about that.
No.
Let's not go there. But so I don't know if I'd really teach her about guns, but I definitely teach her to stay away from them. If she sees one, to get far away, to never touch them.
That's what he was teaching him. That's what he was teaching him, to not touch them. To if your friends have them and somebody pulls one out, he said, run.
Yeah,
run out of the house, he said. So he was teaching him awareness, and I just said, look, I just want him to know what it is. And so that it was an awareness of what to stay away from, not an awareness, hey, this is cool, not that.
Well, also there's with little boys, I mean, not that Caden is little anymore, but with younger boys, there's just this thing where guns are such an influence in their lives. Toys, video games, everything. I mean, everything is shooting, and it's supposed to be fun. I think this mentality is a little nuts. But, I have a friend, and she's like, oh, yeah, he's got 6 guns at home. And I'm like, that's a little much for a 5-year-old. No, but they're plastic. I'm like, yeah, but still, like, when he gets older, he's going to, those are toys. They shouldn't be known as toys. Guns should never be toys. They should be sporting equipment. Yeah.
Well, anyway, we're not here to talk about guns, but anyway.
I could go on all day.
Yeah, I know.
But I do think it's important to learn how to self-defend. Yes. Absolutely, for everybody, and especially women. Women cower, and we're taught to be, we're taught that we're small and we're not strong, and, and as models, we're not really supposed to have an opinion and just supposed to look good.
I never thought I was small or any of those things, by the way. I always grew up as a very ballsy redhead. And so many bad things still happen to me because I don't know if it was because of what. It just happens because you're a pretty girl or whatever. And I've traveled the world, got myself into situations, even though it wasn't me putting myself in, I was in them. Yeah. And it's a bummer. It's a real bummer, but you have to come out like you and think that your glass is half full rather than, hide in the corner. Yeah. And that's what, that's one of the reasons why I wanted you to come on, is because you had such a horrible thing happen to you, but you persevered. So if there's a thing that you have, like a mantra, what is it?
My mantra, ever since I was about 16, 17, when I started thinking about getting into the modeling race, I heard, who was it? Lily Tomlin say, the problem with the rat race is even if you win, you're still a rat. And I was like, this is a good perspective, especially going into modeling, because as you know, there are so many rats, and there are so many hoops that girls are asked to jump through in order to become a rat. So I always just kept this thing like, I just want to be a businesswoman. I want to make money. I want to enjoy my job. I want to travel, and I'm not going to jump through hoops to get it. And that's why I had such a long career, as you did. So yeah, never wanted to be a rat.
I just kept my nose down and worked my butt off.
Yeah.
I was fortunate. I was just fortunate because I was one of the only redheads of our generation. So, it was me. Yeah. And, I just went from place to place to place to place to place to place. It was such a great time. We lived in the time of, one woman more beautiful than the next.
Oh my God. I remember sitting backstage at some of those shows and just thinking like, wow, how did I get here? Like, I used to put those girls' pictures on my wall at private school, like, right? Praising their just existence. And then they're sitting beside me.
Did you have a favorite one?
I did. Linda has always been my favorite. Yes. Oh. I think she was
one of the most magnificent models.
I mean, she really honed in on her craft.
She did.
Yeah. I think she was the best model. I think Christy Turlington was the most beautiful.
Yeah. I think in person, Cindy was prettier. I thought
Yeah.
Cindy was, and Cindy to me, I always felt that her photographs didn't do her justice because she's so pretty in person, and just the life in her, and the pictures just didn't come off as pretty as she was, because
Yeah, she's stunning in person.
and Christy Turlington, her pictures were just as beautiful as her, and so I don't know what that is, but you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah,
Like-
definitely.
like
there are a lot
Christy's-
of girls that look so much better in person than in their
Mhm.
pictures, and you're like, you're supposed to look better when you get your picture taken.
No. I always felt that nobody ever captured like really great pictures of me.
Really?
Yeah.
There
was only a few photographers, like the Italian photographers, I think, got me.
Marco
took
Marco
great
is fantastic. Yeah.
Tiziano Mani took a lot of really nice pictures, and the Italian guys kind of.
Get it?
Yeah, I think so. The Italians.
Yeah, I love the Italians.
Do you have a moment of like when, because I keep asking this, where you took your life from one direction, you're chucking along, and all of a sudden you take a left turn, and it ends up being your right turn. This is like my motto for this show, because I've taken a bunch of left turns, but they're the right turn. And I am where I am today because of that. And I have a beautiful little kid. Do you have that a moment, or 10 or 1 or 2?
I have lots of moments in my life where I thought I was where I wanted to be.
Mm-hmm.
And then I don't want to be here, so I'm going to change this up. And, with modeling, you can really base yourself anywhere. So, I'm living in Paris and I love it. And I'm, just this young girl living in Paris, living the dream. Oh, I don't want to be here anymore. Okay, so I moved to Sydney, Australia. I went for 4 weeks and stayed for 7 months.
But was it, I don't want to be here? What inspired you to go to Australia? What was it about Australia?
Just the idea of being there in like this, I'd only seen it in the movies, and
I haven't been to Australia. Of all the places I've been in the whole wide world, it's like
I've never been disappointed in you until this moment.
I haven't.
You have to go. Like, go now.
I know.
Oh my God.
I know.
You'll never. I went for 4 weeks and stayed for 7 months, and it was incredible. I love the Australian mentality that you live your life. You don't work your life. You live your life, and you enjoy your life. I like that.
My sister was born in Queensland, Australia.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Queensland. Yeah, I love it there. So it's just too far from my family.
Okay, so you loved the Australian
culture, lifestyle, countryside.
And you just decided, okay, I'm going, see you guys, I'm out.
Yeah. Well, what happened was I was in Paris, and for my entire career, whenever I had a cover come out, I was never there. I was never in the city when a cover came out. I was always in a different country. And I had a couple covers come out in Paris. And of course, then my agent in New York was like, oh, we got to now that you're on this kick, we need you to get more covers. You've got to go. Australia's an easy market for you to get covers. So I was like, okay. So I went and loved it there. He thought I was only going to be gone for 4 weeks, and I stayed a lot longer.
Was this before or after I met you? You were
there? This was after.
Really?
Yeah. I met you the first year I started modeling in Paris.
In Paris.
Crazy.
Those are fun days.
With the French boys. Lots of shows.
Mm-hmm.
A real hustle. I miss doing the circuit.
Mm-hmm.
When we'd all collectively end up at the same airport and all collectively end up on the same plane, get there, and all of the drivers be there. And yeah, those were good times.
God, when going to Milan first and seeing all the cute Italian boys that would drive us around.
Andrea called me today.
Yeah, I was going to say Andrea.
He called me today. Yep.
To name one.
He was the cutest.
He was cute. He was my driver and your driver.
Yep. Yep. He was a good one. He's living in Florida.
Mm-hmm. Oh, he was living in Los Angeles for a while.
Yeah, not anymore. So
you get to see him?
Well, he travels a lot for his job. Mm-hmm. So when he drives back,
I know. I follow him on Instagram.
Yeah.
Do you know what his Instagram is by chance? Because we'll post it up. Because you guys got to follow this guy. He's cute.
He is. He's cute and personable.
He is.
Yeah, very cute.
So you go to Australia. Okay, so give me another one. Give me like an it's something that inspired your life. What has inspired you the most?
Well, the birth of my daughter, of course. She changed everything in my life, And
Yes.
I mean, I had bad things happen to me in New York that really said to me, wake up to yourself and get out of here, because growing old in New York is not easy.
Mm-hmm.
So I picked up and I moved to Florida, which
Mm-hmm.
was weird for me because it's like culture shock.
Right.
Going from New York to a little small beach town.
I'm sure that was a little like refreshing after New York and after.
Oh yeah. I always tell people, I'm like, listen, your life, your vacation versus my life. Like, I live in vacation paradise all the time.
Right.
But it's slow and, I love it though.
It's a great place to raise a child.
Yeah. Oh my God. And she loves it. And we have a great community there and a great school. And so we're totally set there. But when you have a kid, it changes your whole perspective.
Oh, yes, it does.
And I didn't know I wanted to have kids. I didn't know if I was going to be able to,
I remember that.
Yeah. Being a single mom now, it's amazing.
I agree.
I don't know if I would ever want to be in a relationship again.
Don't never say never, but
well, no, if the right one comes around.
I understand how you feel because I'm recently divorced, and not recently, but I spend my waking moments are with my son. He's 10, and it just changed. He rocks my world all the time.
Yep.
And I don't know if it's like this for you, but he just makes me want to be a better person every day.
Oh my God.
Because he's so good and innocent and sweet and cute. Does that happen to you?
Absolutely. And I feel like I want to make every day count. I want to make every day stick. I want,
because we're older moms.
Exactly.
So
we don't want to time out too quickly, right?
Yeah.
So I want to give her lots of memories. I want her to remember that, still at 7.5 years old, I sing to her every night before we go to bed. And I wake her up in the morning with like ridiculous amounts of attention and love and kisses. And, there's not a moment where, she feels unloved. Not that I grew up in a household that didn't love me, but I think when my mom had 2 kids and working and this, there wasn't a lot of room for individual attention. So, I'm just on a mission to raise one kid right,
Well, I'm going to give you a hug. You need attention. She needs attention. We're going to take a break. Liskula needs a hug.
Aww.
And we're going to have a word from our sponsors. Come here, I'm going to hug you.
When it comes to keeping my smile white, I only trust Oral-Gen New Pearl Advanced Teeth Whitening System for sensitive teeth. With no harsh chemicals or peroxide, New Pearl offers a unique 99% natural formula that delivers professional results previously only available from your dentist.
Save 50% now on the New Pearl 32X Teeth Whitening Kit. Satisfaction guaranteed or your money back. Visit oralgen.com/livewithangie to order now.
In the break, you were reading an article about a person that we, knew very well, and it's kind of what's going on in the world with this Jeffrey Epstein, and my agent was Jean-Luc Brunel, and so I knew Jean-Luc. He never did anything bad to me, never once. He was only kind to me, but I'm hearing all these things that. What did the article say?
Oh, peepholes in the bathroom and.
Did you know about that?
I did.
You did?
Yes, I
wow.
did. I thought it was odd, but, drill holes and stuff in the wall.
Maybe I'm unobservant. I did not.
Yeah.
I even stayed there.
Really, I never stayed there. I have been there multiple times.
I stayed there a lot.
And I never had a problem with Jean-Luc either.
Mm-mm.
And I started modeling like 2 weeks after the 60 Minutes story came out. And my mother came and visited me. And I remember at Bain Douche, and one of those French guys was wearing my mother's red Charles Jourdain shoes, dancing around. We were having a great time, and Jean-Luc was there. And my mother was like, "You stay away from my girl. I'll step on you." So I never had a problem with him. I ended up being with his agency as well. And we always got along very well. I think he knew
which girls not to mess with.
Yeah. He didn't want anybody that put up a fight. So,
Well, I was also
unfortunate.
really good friends with his wife.
Yeah.
She
exactly.
discovered me, so being in Roberta's clan, Roberta's going to come on the show.
Oh,
I talked to her. I can't wait.
she looks amazing too.
Her and Stephanie, I'm going to bring them over in the same time. So Roberta Cherko and Stephanie Janes. And that'll be a little bit of a class reunion. Yeah.
Whatever happened to that blonde? The blonde Kim?
Oh,
She's
Kim.
still around?
I can't remember her last name, but
No, but
possibly.
you know who I'm talking about.
I do.
Yeah, she was always around.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, she hated me.
Did you? You thought everybody hated you, Liskula, but everybody liked you. She's like, ooh.
I don't know. Sometimes it's easier to walk around thinking that people dislike you based on nothing.
Well, I always thought people liked me, but apparently they didn't. There was models that didn't like me. I thought because being a redhead, I just never had the competition factor. The only time I ever really got into an argument was with Karen Mulder, because I went in the door before her and she was,
Karen.
It was like, put it that way.
Yeah.
And you just couldn't walk in the door before Karen Mulder. And I was like, whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that was the only girl I ever really got into a fight with.
Yeah.
Even Naomi, I didn't get. I mean, we've had verbals, but not like, everybody fights with Naomi at least once.
True.
You're not in the business if you haven't fought with Naomi. Bless her heart.
Yeah, it's true. But she was good too. And remember when they started taking the cameras out of backstage?
Yes.
I remember her like losing her mind seeing photographers back there and literally like ripping their cameras out of their hands. I was like, yes, do it.
You know what? Maybe that is part of what has made me and models of our generation be able to tolerate so much, because we were changing clothes and there were cameras backstage.
Yeah.
And it just kind of made it so, in America, it's completely different. Your body is completely different in America than it is in France. In France, women are a work of art.
Mm-hmm.
And did you feel prettier in France or or here? Did you feel a difference like that?
I felt that men especially definitely appreciated, or not appreciated, but they enjoy the female form much more openly, and women aren't. You're allowed to just do you and be sexy and be a woman and be proud of it no matter what your shape, and they cheer you along.
That's
Here, a lot of the times it's, you can't do this, you can't do that. Like,
well, I did Playboy, right?
Mm-hmm.
And my contract was different. I didn't show it all, and they wanted me to go back and reshoot. And I said, I will if you pay me the same amount. And they said, we'll call you back. And I just saved it for private showings.
Yeah.
And I just save it for myself. It's something that I wanted to keep for myself.
Sure.
And I just feel like after I did that, I lost clients. Yeah.
Really?
I did. The mainstream clients, because I did. And even today, I've had some people be like, oh, well, aren't you a Playboy girl? And it.
In all fairness, your Playboy spread end cover was pretty much the classiest Playboy spread and Playboy cover ever in the history of the magazine. Those pictures are iconic.
I got to choose my photographer, and I chose my buddy, my pal. Maybe I'll get him to come on the show if he's around. Is Marco Glaviano living in America?
No.
So he's back in.
No, he's in Italy.
He's back in Milan.
Mm-hmm.
One of the best photographers ever on the planet, and he loved redheads. He loved women. So what about Peter Beard? Do you ever shoot with Peter Beard?
I love Peter. Yes, I miss Peter. I loved shooting with him. He always compared me to Verushka.
Oh,
yeah.
Yes,
loved him. He's yeah.
Did you have a favorite photo shoot that you've done
with him in
anyone?
My whole career?
Yes.
I have a favorite location.
Which is where?
So one of the last jobs that I took while still living in New York, I got to go on my dream location job, and that was it was just shooting for like a cruise ship, but we only had to shoot like 2 hours in the morning, and that was it, because then all the tourists came out and you couldn't shoot anything. And I got to go to French Polynesia and go to Bora Bora, and I mean, it was incredible, so beautiful. So I loved going there. I loved seeing that. I loved shooting with Rico Pullman. He made me feel very special.
He took such beautiful pictures.
Yeah.
Some of my most beautiful pictures, by the way, were by Rico Pullman.
Yeah. He definitely.
I think I might have had my prettiest picture ever that I think is
incredible.
For people who don't know who that is, he actually tell the story.
Rico Pullman, fantastic photographer, died on the TWA Flight 800 flight with an assistant, unfortunately. Very heartbreaking.
Weren't you supposed to be on that plane?
Yes, twice. I was booked on that same aircraft twice. Once because it was supposed to go from New York to Paris, Paris to Rome, Rome back to New York. And I was booked on a job in Paris, had my ticket, and then Armani came in and wanted me to do the Piazza di Spain. So I ended up going there, and then I was going to backtrack and get to Paris I would have made it on time. But so I have 2 boarding tickets with that flight on it on that day. So
you were destined to have Liv.
Yes. Oh my God. Don't get me started about her. I'll cry again.
I know. That's how I feel about Kaden.
Yeah.
Tell me about the steps in Spain. I mean, in Italy, the Spanish Steps.
Oh, you remember that show? That was the best show ever.
It was the best show ever.
Yeah, and it was tricky. You had to really know your shit to do that show, because the steps
were uneven.
Easy fall.
Well, I had dogs.
Oh, with Valentino?
Yes.
I did them on the runway once.
I had to walk with these giant dogs down the Spanish Steps. Now, I mean, I don't know if you've never been there. It's uneven steps, and you can't look down and walk down like this. And I had animals.
Well, it's shot live TV
Yes.
on Rai, so you had to really, and it was always the best designers and
the best models.
I mean, I remember Claudia Schiffer, and remember how they would like barricade the way from the steps back to the hotel. They'd barricade it off. And poor Claudia, like all those Italians, Claudia, ripping at her hair. I'm like, oh my God, you're like the second coming right now. I'm loving you here. Very sweet, very fun. I never fell on the runway, ever, thank God. I walked over a girl that fell once, but she'll remain nameless because she still hates me for that.
For walking over her?
Yeah, she was splayed out on the runway.
You didn't help her up?
I tried to help her up. And I got attitude. So
what
I was like,
show
okay.
was it, though?
Laura Biagiotti.
So...
yeah, and actually Helena walked around her, so I wasn't alone.
I never fell. I did. Do you have any bad stories?
Any runway stories?
Yes.
No, I always.
Did you ever have a malfunction?
A wardrobe malfunction? Oh yeah, my boobs have been splayed out there a couple times, which was fine in Europe because they're just boobs. Right. Never really had anything really bad. I had girls put tacks in my shoes in Paris. Yeah.
So never. I take it back. Not everybody liked you.
Well, a lot of people don't understand like how those shows come to be and how those girls end up on that runway, and how every season there's already there's 17 spots and 16 of those spots are already taken.
Right.
So
but not for the redhead.
Yeah.
If the redhead if they want to book a redhead, it was there was 2. There was Valerie.
Valerie.
She did shows.
You should have Valerie come down.
Yeah.
She just had a little girl too.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. Lovely. Yeah. So yeah, but for blondes, we were a dime a dozen.
Well, not blondes like you guys. I mean, there's no. There was a group. It was a time when like I said, like I was telling stories about being at the Chanel show and just looking around and thinking, oh my God, I just can't believe
I'm here.
that
I
I'm
did
here.
it.
Yeah. It was such fun times
Yeah.
that, it's when supermodels were created, that word supermodel. Isn't that funny?
Yeah. I remember thinking.
It's like being having an Oscar,
Yeah,
you're always
sort
a supermodel. It's not going to come off of your name.
Yeah. I mean, no, it never goes away.
Mm-mm.
But it's also something that I think most girls who fell into that category, thank God, were smart enough
Real.
to not take advantage of it. You know what I mean?
Some did.
Some did. But I'm saying not take advantage of the jobs and the work opportunity. But I mean, a lot of those girls, it didn't affect their personality. Like still now, they're very real, and you can talk to them, and people have all those predisposed ideas of what models are, right?
I get a lot of, I don't know if you get this, like, oh, you're so much more down to earth than I thought you would be.
I get that from every single person. Or so many women, like at Liskula, they didn't like me for the first 2 years because they had no idea who I was. And
intimidation.
Oh my God, you're so nice. I'm like, thanks, but I've been the same. It's you that was actually being a bitch.
I had a woman, when I was talking to her husband, pull him away by his ear, and I was like, really?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. I currently have a mom who thinks that I'm having an affair with her husband, and I'm like,
in her head.
In
her head.
I have no desire for anybody's husband, ever. I just want my own.
Well, if you could give a word of advice to a young girl that really was talented and wants to know, that you thought, could make it, what would you tell her?
To come into the fashion industry? Get your education first. Put that first and foremost.
Yes.
And don't bend the rules on your own morals at all. Like the one thing I can always say is I never did anything that I truly regret in that industry. I never did a pose I didn't like. I never slept with anybody that I didn't want to sleep with. You know what I mean? Like, I never bent the rules.
Right.
If I walked out of this business with just a bunch of pictures and no money and still had my morals, I would survive that. But
I think a lot of young girls do dumb things just to think that think it's going to get them ahead, but it really doesn't.
No. I mean, there are a lot of girls that landed great jobs and doing all kinds of things, but the aftermath of that is drug addiction, alcoholism, mental problems, that you fight those inner demons eventually. It's not just, it's just one night and I'll get this. You have to
I didn't do anything
for all
like
of
that either. I very, very, right at the very beginning of my career, there was a photographer. And he told me that I needed to sleep with him in order to, get ahead. And I looked at him and I said, not a chance. Then I'm never going to be a good model, and I'm never going to succeed because I'm never sleeping with you. Yeah. It's just what I was like, ugh.
When I was married, I ended up, I was married from 95 to 2000. I ended up on a shoot with Terry for Womo Vogue. And the story was a weird story to begin with. And there were me and another girl model and two men that we had thought that they would get models, but they didn't. And they were very strange men. And in the beginning, everything was fine, but then things started to get really heavily pornographic and sexual, and the posing and everything. At a certain point, I was just like, I called my agent. I'm like, I'm walking. I'm not doing this. You can't do that. That's Womo Vogue. That's Terry Richardson. He's the top photographer. I said, you better watch me. And can I tell you, I left, and they brought some other model in, some other blonde girl. She wasn't a model, actually, I don't think. And they ended up using me on the cover. And it's not a nice cover, and I bought all of them off the magazine
Did you really?
shelves. Oh yeah, destroyed we destroyed a lot of them.
Making me curious. I want to see that cover.
I'll send you a picture.
You don't take bad pictures.
It's not that the picture is bad.
It's just the experience.
Just the story. If you look at the story and you don't think, hey, wait a minute, that girl's face and that girl's face are two different faces, people may think that I'm doing those things. And I mean,
okay.
It really went to a really pornographic place. And I'm not talking about soft porn. I'm talking about money shots.
Oh, okay.
And I was,
wow.
I mean,
really?
I wasn't, yes. So gross. So obviously you don't see it, but you see it, you know what I mean, in the pictures. So clearly I never worked with him again.
Yeah.
Have you ever worked with Terry?
No. How do you stay in such good shape?
For me, it's really just genetics. My dad is super tall and super thin.
I hate girls like her. Don't you just hate girls like her?
I'm sorry.
You know, to be that pretty, have such a phenomenal body, and you don't. That's just...
My body could look, you know what? We're all good from far and far from good. You know what I'm saying? Like, I look great with clothes on.
No, you look great all the time.
But, you know, it just goes back to that old thing of you are what you eat. I don't eat dairy. I don't eat gluten.
Okay, so that's how I
drink a lot of water.
Right.
And, you know, for my face, I like to say that I'm well pickled because I enjoy a glass of wine all the time. So, you know, I exfoliate. I just do those sort of... I'm not high maintenance by any stretch of the imagination.
Sure you are.
I am not. Maybe that's why I've been single for so darn long. She's high maintenance. You think I'm high maintenance?
A little.
Why?
Well, so am I. It's okay. It's you know, because we're tough. We're not speak no mind woman. Well, you know, it's you know, we are women of character. So women of character are a little more high maintenance in terms of that. I don't mean that that you spend hours in the bathroom making yourself pretty. You don't wear makeup and you're gorgeous. I don't mean it by that. I don't mean it in a disrespectful way either, because I'm just, you know, it takes a real man to be able to support you, and it takes a real man to be able to support me. So that's what I mean by that. So if that's high maintenance, or if that's just, you know, strong women, I don't know.
Oh, I'm definitely strong-willed.
That
I believe in fighting the good fight.
You are.
I believe in protecting myself. I believe in protecting my friends.
Yes.
I take my friendships very, very, very seriously.
You do.
You know, I don't. Yeah, I think it's important to be a good friend. You know, and I think it's important to be kind to strangers and help and do all of those things.
Oh, you know what's funny is I did foreplay with everybody but you on my show.
Well, that's because
well,
I'm 8 years celibate.
Well, you know, and that was one of my words that I had picked for you was friendship, because I try to choose words, and I apologize for not giving you foreplay, ma'am. But
typical.
But you are. I mean, you're a friend through and through. I'm
loyal to a fault, to a detriment to myself many times. I've been burned, but I don't. I know that everybody comes into your life for a reason, a season, or a lifetime. And for you, it's a lifetime, you know, but when I left New York, I realized that some of those friendships that I did place a lot of value on maybe had run their course, and that's fine.
Right.
You know, that's okay.
To enjoy the time that you had with those people, enjoy the memories. I mean, our friendship didn't start off easy at the beginning.
No, well, I was jealous of you all the time. That fucking hair.
Really? That's so
Give me
funny.
A bottle of bleach and a pair of shears.
I'm sure a few people wanted to do that to me, like just cut it off.
Yeah. Right? Then again, she'd still just be as gorgeous.
Well, I adore you.
Thank you.
And I'm glad that we have a lifetime friendship. I really do, because it's, you know, girls need to stick together. And this whole movement, and you have always been that girl, you know, that has clung to women.
Yeah. I like to have a good girl squad.
Women. You do. And I'm so happy to be part of that.
Yay.
And I can't tell you where to find her on social media, because she won't give it
I like to be private.
Yep. So she's one of my most gorgeous, fun, great friends, but she's all mine.
You know, I have an Instagram, but I just don't really. It's just really for me and my kid. You know, like we don't really. It's
That's
not
okay.
A work
Not even
thing.
gonna, don't even.
Thank you. Thank you.
And
I'm afraid of the internet, as you know.
Tell me why.
Well,
I know why, but
you know why? Yeah, you were afraid to talk about it, right?
no.
Oh,
you
okay.
can talk about it. I want you to say it, not me.
Oh, well, I had a very public lawsuit where I fought Google and won, and it was precedent setting, and they actually teach my lawsuit at some of the best law universities in the country. So it was an important one to me because it had a little bit to do with bullying, had a little bit to do with how are we going to try and make sure that teenagers aren't committing suicide because somebody called them a name or told them to kill themselves on the internet. Like, I feel like all of that I had to do something to help it. And when I had been attacked online, my lawyer looked and said, this is definitely defamation and slander and libel, and we should sue. And by Google's rules, we had to sue in order to get the IP address of the anonymous blogger. So we did. We won.
That's awesome.
She apologized.
Because it's so hard to get anything off the internet. I mean, once it's
impossible.
There, you know.
Yeah, it's literally impossible.
Right.
So there are a lot of Google doctors that say that they'll fix it, but they just push it all back. So
content. You want to bury something, just put more content out, I guess.
Exactly. But I think it was a good fight. I think that I get letters all the time from doctors all over the country thanking me for my lawsuit because, of course, they use my precedent to win their own lawsuits. And for doctors, especially with HIPAA laws, a patient can, I waited 20 minutes. I don't like it. I'm going to leave a horrible review for this doctor. And there's nothing they can do, or nothing they can do publicly. But if they can sue privately, and now they are winning. So that's good. So I wish there was more control on the internet. The internet scares the bejesus out of me.
There was one point I came and found I had some gurus working with my website, and they were like, "Oh, you have dark web on the back side of your internet." I was like, "What?" Hey, shut down immediately.
Yeah.
So anyway, I'm going to say thank you for coming.
Thanks for having
getting
me.
on a plane. It's it's the first time that you're away from your daughter.
I know.
So I'm really
I'm torn.
I'm
You're the only one
honored.
that would get me here.
I'm honored that you
Yes.
came, and I appreciate for you being one of the first guests on my show.
Well, I'm happy to support you in anything that you do. You know that. Every time you call me, I've got this idea. I think I need to do this. Count me in. Okay,
you do.
Count me in. Whatever I can do to help my friends, that's fine.
Well, I always want to include my friends.
Exactly.
I like working with my friends. I don't want to work with people that I don't like.
Yeah, no. Spent too many
did a
years
lot
doing
of
that.
Well, thank you so much for coming and sharing my beautiful friend Liskula. She's just as beautiful today as you were yesterday.
Thanks.
No, I mean it. It's
Thank
you know, people always say you're still pretty, but that's kind of a backhanded compliment, but you're just gorgeous.
Thank you.
As ever.
Thanks. Drinking a lot of water.
Cheers.
Cheers.